Hi friends, we're going to talk about the mother of all kettlebell movements today, my favorite movement. There are a lot, this is my favorite. The kettlebell swing. The Russian Kettlebell Swing specifically. So I'm going to take Kelsey through a progression. We're going to go over all the foundational components of the swing and get you familiar with it. So first things first, let's talk about what the swing is effectively. The swing is a ballistic movement. It is a dynamic hip hinge. So Kelsey, show me a few of your very best hip hinges, not even with the bell. So you'll notice as Kelsey hip hinges, she has a straight line from her hips to her head. She's sending her hips back, chest is parallel to the ground at the bottom. This is very important for her swing. Knees are on top of her ankles. Knees are also soft. And she has her chin tucked, gaze is about towards the ground or towards the horizon. So this is actually the bottom of your kettlebell swing. If she were to take her hands, put them right between her thighs at the very top, the apex of her thighs, that is where the bell would be, at the bottom of her swing. Now, the swing is effectively one of two positions you can stand up, and that is the second position. So the second position is a vertical plank. She is looking for all of her joints stacked, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, with her midline braced, butt squeezed, quad squeezed, driving straight down through the ground. Her arms, because she's pretending like she has a kettlebell weighting them, are loose like ropes. In reality, there'd be a little bit more elbow bend, which you'll see when she does her swings, just nice and relaxed. The shoulders are not rounded, show me your rounded shoulders, or hiked kind of at the same time, right? She didn't lose all of her tension through her back because her back is strong. It's statically holding onto the bell. All right, so now I'm gonna have her go through just those two a couple times, moving between position 1, the bottom of your swing, and 2, your vertical plank. Awesome. So Kelsey just added in the second component, the equally important, which is the breathing pattern that we want to take when we're going through our swings. Breaking it down to its most basic form, we have inhale as you're loading and exhale as you contract. The exhale should be very forceful and it should correspond perfectly with the contraction of quads, hips, and abs, right? Think about your breathing as fueling your kettlebell swing. So you're gonna inhale through your nose as you relax to come into your load, and then exhale, like you heard Kelsey do. You're pressing your tongue to your roof of your mouth and you're forcefully exhaling just about 1/3 of your lung capacity. You don't want to lose everything because then you're gonna not have that strong brace that we want. We use that intra-abdominal pressure to keep our midline tight, okay? So Kelsey did an awesome job of demoing the breathing. I'll show you one more time. Just focus on when she's breathing. Inhale to load, exhale to swing and contract. Awesome. So to review basic components, we have position 1, bottom of the hinge, 2, top of the swing, which is a vertical plank, inhale, load, exhale, contract. So now let's talk about some common errors that we see with the swing when we're not quite getting into both of those positions. First thing we'll talk about is how to pick the kettlebell up off of the ground. So Kelsey's gonna show us how we often see it in class, which is kind of squatting down to pick it up and not effectively loading into our swing. So here Kelsey is squatting through her swings. Not only did she squat to pick up the bell, but she's squatting, lowering her hips instead of raising them to come into her swings, which is still hard. And because she's a good mover, she moved through it well in a way that wasn't gonna injure her, but it's not what we're looking for in our hinge pattern for our swing. So now Kelsey's gonna show us how we do want to pick up the bell. So she's going to take a little bit more of a step back here. And something you want to pay attention to is, I always say, look for a triangle. So we have about 1 foot, right, an equilateral triangle here with her feet in her swing position, toes slightly out, because when we come into our hinge, even though it is, usually we would hinge in more of a pulling stance, we want room for the kettlebell to pass, and we want our knees still tracking with our toes. So she's going to squat down to the bell and lower her hips just a little bit more, get her lats really tight, and all I want you to do, Kelsey, is hike the bell up and in and then let it float back down. Hike up and in and float back down. So she's sweeping the bell up and in with her lats, and because her arms are relaxed, as she releases that tension, it just floats right back down to its starting position. Good. Relax. So this is usually my first step progression to teaching people how to swing. From here, we're gonna add just one swing to that load, which is gonna be her standing up into that vertical plank. So it's gonna be sweep, stand, release, and then unload. Nice. All right, so she just did one swing and all she did was standing up, which actually leads us to our second air, which is not standing all the way up in the kettlebell swing. So show me what it looks like when you don't stand all the way up. So if you watch her hip crease, she's not locking out by squeezing her butt. Now stand all the way up. So she's forcefully pulling her kneecaps up with her quads, contracting those quads, front of her thighs, squeezing her butt, and keeping her midline tight. Awesome. Doing a lot of swings here. I appreciate all your hard work. The last common error we'll see is hyperextending the back because you're not drawing that rib cage down by squeezing your front abdominal muscles. So show me what a kind of lazy midline looks like in your swing. Perfect. So she's doing a great job of creating this open scissor position where she hyperextends her back because her midline muscles are floppy. Floppy. So all you're gonna do to counteract that is as hard as you squeeze quads, hips, when you go through your hip extension, just don't forget about your midline, okay? I wanna quickly say that this is differentiated between the natural counterbalance that happens. If you have a really heavy bell, you are going to lean back at the top of your swing. If she was swinging a 70 right now, there would still be some lean back, just like in Olympic lifting. If you're pulling behind some really heavy weight, like you're gonna have to counterbalance by leaning back. This is very different than losing your midline and only leaning back with the shoulders, okay? Thank you for demoing, and that's all we have for you today with the kettlebell swing.